The prince's son was born mute, until the housemaid pulled something terrifying from his throat. Before we begin this beautiful period romance story, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I love knowing where you're joining me from. Snow clung to the stone ledges of Falkenberg Palace, but inside the upper corridor, the air was thick and warm and tense. "Keep moving, girl," the housekeeper murmured, pushing a stack of folded linens into Anna Keller's arms. "They will need more sheets, clean ones. Mind you, do not drop them." "Yes, Frau Roth," Anna answered softly. She had been in the palace for only 3 days, long enough to learn that servants walked quickly and spoke quietly, long enough to learn which doors she must never touch, long enough to notice that tonight every sound was sharper than usual, every whisper more hurried. At the far end of the corridor, 2 ladies-in-waiting stood close together, glancing toward a closed door guarded by a footman in dark livery. "Has there been word?" one asked. "Nothing yet," the other replied. "Only that the physicians are with her, and the prince." Anna lowered her gaze as she passed, though their words slipped easily into her thoughts. Princess Elise was in labor. The entire palace waited to hear a single cry through that door. The sound of a new heir. She set the linens on a bench outside the chamber and stepped back, hands folded. The door opened slightly, just enough for a red-faced maid to snatch 2 sheets and vanish again. Anna caught a brief glimpse of lamplight, a movement of pale hands, the edge of a copper bowl. The door closed. Silence fell again, too heavy. Anna listened to the quiet stretch out. In the village where she had grown up, births filled tiny cottages with noise. A mother's low moans, a midwife's firm voice, the whispered prayers of grandmothers, a baby's first thin cry. Here, the marble floor shone, sconces glowed, and everything was neat, restrained, controlled. Her mother would have hated it, Anna thought, or laughed at it. "Children do not arrive politely," she would have said. "They come as they please." Her throat tightened. She pushed the thought away and focused on the door. Footsteps approached from the stair. Anna straightened as a tall man in a dark uniform came into view, boots polished, expression held carefully neutral. Captain of the guard, she guessed. He paused near the chamber, spoke quietly with the footman, then resumed his post at the opposite wall, hands clasped behind his back. Another door opened down the hall. An older lady, veiled with silver hair gathered at her neck, emerged from a side chapel. The dowager princess, Anna had been told. She carried a rosary. Her lips moved as if still finishing a prayer. "Any news?" she asked the captain. "None yet, Your Highness." The dowager nodded once, then lifted her chin. "There will be," she said. "God has not brought us to this night for nothing." Her eyes passed over Anna without pausing. Anna kept her gaze low. She was used to that. In the village, people had looked at her differently, always with a bit of awe in their eyes when they spoke of her mother's skills. Here, no one knew her name yet unless it was written on a list. A muffled sound came from behind the door, a woman's cry, cut short. The captain's posture stiffened. The dowager's fingers tightened on her rosary. Anna knew that sound. It was the sound of a body pushing past its limit. Another cry followed, weaker. Then a flurry of voices, indistinct. The door opened again, and Dr. Meinhard, the court physician, slipped into the hall, tugging at his sleeves. His face glistened. He barely seemed to see anyone around him. "Doctor?" the dowager called sharply. He bowed quickly. "Your Highness." "Well?" she demanded. He hesitated. "The child is—" He swallowed. "The child is delivered. And Elise—" He looked away. "The princess requires prayers, Your Highness." The dowager drew in a slow breath, then steadied herself. "I will go to her," she said. "And my grandson. I heard no crying." "That is—" Dr. Meinhard's hand fluttered vaguely in the air. "Perhaps it is simply exhaustion. He breathes, but he does not cry," the dowager finished. Yes, something cold slid down Anna's spine, a baby who did not cry. She thought of the village women who had pleaded with her mother over silent, limp infants. Her mother bending low, listening, shaking her head in frustration. There is breath, but there is no sound. Why is there no sound? Anna shifted closer to the wall as if proximity could help her hear through the door. Dr. Meinhard and the dowager exchanged a few more hushed words. Then the older woman straightened her shoulders and went inside. The captain caught Anna's movement, and gave her a brief warning look. She flushed and pressed back, fingers knotting in her apron. More time passed, punctuated only by the faint creak of floorboards and the soft murmur of voices beyond the door. Then suddenly the door swung wide. A midwife stepped out, carrying a small bundle swaddled in cloth. The bundle was utterly still. Behind her, a tall, dark-haired man followed, his face pale and drawn. Prince Leopold. Anna recognized him from the whispered descriptions passed among the servants. He did not look like a man who ruled others. He looked like a man who had not slept for several nights. The midwife approached the physician in the corridor. "He will not make a sound," she whispered. "I have never—" "Let me see him," Dr. Meinhard said sharply, taking the bundle into his own arms. Leopold's voice cut through the corridor. "Is he alive?" "Yes, Highness," the doctor answered at once. "There is breath. His chest rises. But he is silent," Leopold said. The midwife wrung her hands. "We have slapped his feet, rubbed his back, tickled his ribs. Nothing. He moves, but there is no cry." "Perhaps he is weak," someone suggested. Anna, still near the wall, watched the doctor's hands. He pulled back the cloth just enough to reveal a tiny face, eyes squeezed shut, mouth parted slightly. The baby's chest rose and fell, shallow but regular. His lips trembled. "Open his mouth," came the dowager's voice from inside the chamber. "Let me see." The doctor obeyed. He slid a finger gently between the baby's gums, tipping his head back. The midwives peered over his shoulder. Leopold leaned in, every muscle taut. "Well?" the dowager asked. "I see nothing," Dr. Meinhard murmured. "The tongue is normal. The throat—" The baby made a small movement, a soundless gasp. Anna took one step forward without realizing it. "Speak up if you have something to say," Frau Roth hissed under her breath from behind her. But Anna barely heard. She narrowed her eyes, studying the infant's throat. The skin at the base of his neck fluttered oddly, as if something hindered the passage of air. In her memory, another child's face appeared years ago in a smoky cottage, her mother's firm hands, her own small hands holding a bowl. "The throat is clear," Dr. Meinhard repeated, more loudly, as if conviction could conjure truth. "Perhaps he is simply slow to cry. Some children are." The midwife nodded eagerly. "Yes, Highness, I have seen such children. They find their voice later." Anna swallowed. No. This felt wrong. She heard her mother's voice in her mind. "Watch the throat, Anna. Sometimes the trouble is not in the lungs, but right at the doorway." She spoke before fear could stop her. "Forgive me, sir," she said, her voice barely more than a thread. "May I look?" Every head turned. The midwife stared, startled. Frau Roth made a soft, horrified sound. "You?" Dr. Meinhard frowned. "Who are you?" "Anna Keller, sir. Laundry and linens." She straightened. "My mother was a midwife in the village near the river. She taught me to watch the—" "We have midwives," another woman cut in sharply, "properly trained, attached to the palace." Leopold's gaze rested on Anna for the first time. It was not unkind, but it was cool, measuring. "You believe you might see something our physician has not?" he asked. Heat rose in Anna's cheeks. "I only thought, sometimes there is something lodged, a bit of membrane perhaps. If it is not removed, the child cannot—" "The throat. It moves strangely, Highness." The doctor flushed. "Highness, with respect, we cannot entrust the air to a laundress's fingers. I have examined the child. There is no obstruction." Anna's hands curled at her sides. She knew she should step back, nod, apologize. Yet the baby's lips trembled again, his chest struggling as if against invisible pressure. "Doctor," she said more quietly, "if I am wrong, no harm will be done. If I am right—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not have to. The corridor hummed with unspoken fear. Somewhere in the palace, bells told the hour. The sound seemed distant, unreal. Leopold looked at the child, then at the physician, then at Anna. Grief shadowed his eyes. Behind it, a fierce, helpless love had taken root. His wife lay just beyond the door, very still. His son lay before him, breathing but silent. "Dr. Meinhard," he said at last, "you will permit the girl to look." "Highness, permit her," Leopold repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, the physician stepped aside. Anna felt her heart hammer against her ribs. Frau Roth's hand brushed her sleeve, a brief, warning pressure. Anna moved forward anyway. The midwife handed her a clean strip of linen without being asked. "Be gentle," she whispered. Anna nodded. Her hands trembled, so she drew in a slow breath, remembering another night in another house, her mother's calm voice steadying her. "Hands must be quiet when hearts are not," her mother had said. She adjusted her grip, cradling the baby's head in her left hand. His skin was warm and slightly damp. His eyes remained closed, but his mouth opened weakly as she touched his chin. "I will not hurt you," she murmured, more to herself than to him. With the folded linen over the tip of her finger, she gently traced the inside of his cheek, the curve of his tiny tongue. Nothing. She edged further back, toward the soft darkness of his throat. The baby's chest fluttered rapidly now, as if sensing the intrusion. "Careful," Dr. Meinhard said stiffly behind her. Anna ignored him. She focused on the slight resistance under her fingertip, the narrowness of the passage. Just when she feared she was wrong, that she had risked everything for nothing, she felt it. Something that was not flesh, not bone, not a natural part of any child. Very small, smooth at first, then rough where it scraped against her nail, buried higher than one would expect. Placed just so, her breath caught. There it is. The baby's throat spasmed. His chest heaved, a soundless cough shaking his whole tiny body. Anna withdrew her finger slightly, then eased it back in, searching for a better grip. The object shifted and lodged more firmly. "His face!" someone gasped. "He is turning—" Anna shut out the voices. The baby's jaw trembled against her hand. For one terrifying moment she feared she would force the thing deeper, that she would be the cause of the very disaster she sought to prevent. "Do not push it in," she whispered under her breath, as if the thing could hear. "Girl, stop this at once," the doctor snapped. "He is in distress." "Anna," Frau Roth hissed, "you will answer for this." Leopold's voice cut through them all. "Let her finish." The child's chest rose and fell in shallow, desperate movements. Somewhere to Anna's right, the dowager began to pray softly. Anna adjusted her angle. She pressed the linen-wrapped fingertip against the foreign shape again, catching at its edge. It gave, just slightly. She eased back, drawing it with her, coaxing rather than pulling. For a long, suspended second, nothing happened. Then it slid free. A tiny, damp weight came into her hand, still wrapped in linen. Anna withdrew her finger, heart pounding. She set the bundle carefully into the silver bowl that someone thrust under her hand at the last moment. The baby's chest stilled. The corridor held its breath. Then, with a shuddering, ragged inhalation, he drew in air, as if for the first time. His mouth opened wide. A raw, hoarse sound burst forth, rising quickly into a sharp, unmistakable cry. The noise filled the corridor, cutting through the thick silence like a bell. The midwife began to sob. "He cries. Oh, praise God, he cries." Leopold exhaled a breath he might have been holding for an hour. Color returned to his face by degrees. He reached out, almost clumsily, and took the child into his arms, holding him against his chest. The baby's cry steadied, thin but vigorous, evidence of life and a will to be heard. Anna stepped back, trembling. The world seemed distant for a moment, muffled by the pounding in her own ears. "Let me see what she took out," Dr. Meinhard said softly. The silver bowl still sat on the table nearby. The linen scrap in it was stained with saliva, twisted around something thin and pale. The physician unfolded it with the tip of a small instrument, careful not to touch too directly. The object was a narrow strip of something like parchment, finer than the paper used in the palace offices. It had been rolled tightly, bound with a thread so thin it was almost invisible. Now, damp and freed from its hiding place, it uncurled slightly on its own. "What is that?" whispered one of the midwives. Dr. Meinhard did not answer. His eyes had gone very wide. Anna edged closer, despite herself. On the exposed part of the strip, faint markings had bled outward in the dampness. They were not neat lines of ink as in a letter. They were shapes, crooked loops, broken circles, sharp strokes almost like German letters, but not quite. The color was a faded, rusty brown. "It is some kind of writing," Leopold said. "Not any I know," the doctor replied. The dowager stepped nearer, her rosary clutched so tightly her knuckles were white. She leaned over the bowl, then recoiled, drawing in a shaken breath. "Remove that from here," she whispered. "Take it away from the child." Perhaps it is a sign, one maid muttered under her breath. An omen. Another crossed herself. No one would dare place such a thing in the prince's throat, she said, trying to sound convinced. No one could. The captain of the guard, who had remained silent until now, studied the strip with a soldier's practicality. Whatever it is, he said, it did not grow there by itself. His simple words sent a murmur through the corridor. Leopold looked from the parchment to Anna, as if seeing her truly for the first time. You saved his life, he said quietly. Anna opened her mouth, but no words came. She settled for a small nod, her eyes fixed on the still unfurling strip. Dr. Meinhard reached out again with the instrument, trying to roll it closed. Highness, with your permission, this should be burned, he said. At once. It is not natural. Its presence in the child... Not yet, Leopold said. It will be kept under my protection until we know what it means. The dowager turned to him sharply. Leopold, that thing has no place near my grandson. It will not be near him, he replied, his tone gentle but firm. But it will not vanish without question. Someone placed it there. A whisper passed through the gathered servants like wind through dry leaves. Anna felt their eyes shifting toward her, some furtive, some open. She sensed their thoughts before anyone spoke them aloud. She knew they would say. She knew to look for it. How would she know such a thing? Frau Roth cleared her throat. Anna, she said, using her name for the first time that day. How did you know where to look? Anna swallowed. My mother taught me, Frau, she said quietly. She tended many births. Once there was a child who... Your mother, the midwife interrupted. They say she used herbs that turned the weather. They say people went to her at night. How she used herbs to heal, Anna said, color rising in her cheeks. People went to her because she did not turn them away. Enough, Leopold said, frowning. This is not the time for... But only someone accustomed to such things would imagine there was something hidden in a child's throat, another servant whispered. I would never have thought of it. Nor I, murmured the midwife. Dr. Meinhard glanced from the parchment to Anna, his expression uneasy. It is true, he said slowly, that I did not consider such a possibility, yet the girl seems to have recognized it at once. The baby's cries softened, turning to small, exhausted whimpers against his father's chest. Leopold brushed a finger along his son's cheek, his jaw tightening. She acted when no one else did, he said. Remember that. The midwife dropped into a half curtsy. Of course, Highness. We are grateful, but gratitude Anna knew could live side by side with fear. The dowager stepped closer to her, studying her face. Your mother was a midwife, she said. What was her name? Margaret Keller, Your Highness. The old woman's eyes narrowed briefly, as if recalling a half-remembered story. I have heard that name. There were remarks. She looked back at the strip on the tray. An unusual woman. She helped those who needed help, Anna replied, the words coming out more firmly than she intended. Enough questions for tonight, Leopold said, sensing the direction of the conversation. The child must be taken to the nursery. My mother must be informed of Elise. The dowager closed her eyes for a moment, grief passing over her face like a shadow. Then she straightened. I will go to my daughter-in-law, she said. You take your son, Leopold. He nodded, already rocking the baby slightly, as if to soothe him. The group began to move, the physician gathering his instruments, the midwives adjusting their shawls, the servants retreating to clear the way. Anna stepped back against the wall, letting the tide of people flow around her. Her hands had begun to shake now that the moment had passed. She pressed them together to still them. As the corridor emptied, the low hum of conversation receded. Only a few servants remained, collecting the last of the soiled linens. Frau Roth gave Anna a long, searching look, then turned away without a word. One of the younger maids came up beside her to lift a bundle of cloth. Her eyes were wide, pupils dark with a mix of awe and fear. You should not have done that, the girl whispered. You will draw attention. He was in danger, Anna replied. The maid shook her head. They will say you knew too much. They always do. She glanced nervously toward the silver bowl, where the parchment strip lay half-curled, its strange markings barely visible. From the far end of the corridor, near the now-closed door to the birthing chamber, a whisper floated back, thin but clear enough in the sudden stillness. No one but a witch would know to look there. The word followed Anna down every corridor. Which? No one said it to her face. It slipped out in half-whispers behind Hans, in broken phrases that stopped when she turned her head. But it was there, clinging to the edges of sentences. She touched the prince's throat. They say she pulled a spell out of him. They say she put it there first. By morning, the palace had arranged its expression into something like calm. Servants moved briskly. Fires were stoked. Breakfast trays went up and down the staircases. Yet under the surface, conversation bent again and again toward the birth. Some wept for Princess Elise's death. Some wrapped their fear for the child in the safer cloth of superstition. Anna kept her eyes on her tasks. She carried water, folded linen, scrubbed basins. Every now and then her hands would pause as the baby's cry from the previous night echo in her mind. The sudden harsh sound of life breaking through. It steadied her. At mid-morning, Frau Roth found her in the laundry. "Anna," she said abruptly, "stop that and come." Anna set down her brush. "Is something wrong, Frau Roth?" The housekeeper did not answer at once. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, and there were dark smudges under her eyes. "You are summoned," she said. "To the blue audience chamber." Anna wiped her hands quickly on her apron. "Summoned? By whom?" "By those who have the right to ask questions," Frau Roth replied. "Do not make me repeat myself. Straighten your cap and mind your tongue." As they walked, Anna felt her breath shorten. A summons to an audience chamber did not sound like gratitude. It sounded like judgment. "What am I to say?" she asked in a low voice. "The truth," Frau Roth said, "and nothing that sounds like boasting. You did what you did. You will answer for it, that is all." They reached the double doors of the blue chamber. 2 footmen in dark livery stood there, backs straight. One opened the door at their approach. "Anna Keller," he announced. The room was smaller than the Great Hall, but still far grander than any place Anna had stood in before. The walls were panelled and hung with portraits. Tall windows let in pale winter light. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat Prince Leopold. Beside him, in a carved chair, the Dowager Princess Amalia held a lace handkerchief in one hand. Near them stood Baron Heinrich von Walden, whom Anna had seen once at a distance in a courtyard. Tall, lean, with carefully arranged grey hair and a quiet, watchful expression. Dr. Meinhard was there too, and the chief midwife and several other high-ranking servants. Captain Brandt stood near the door, hands clasped behind his back, his gaze steady. Frau Roth stopped just inside the room and stepped aside. Anna moved forward alone until she reached the space at the center of the polished floor. "Anna Keller," Prince Leopold said, his voice carrying easily. "You will answer some questions about last night." "Yes, Highness," she murmured, and curtsied. He regarded her for a moment, eyes unreadable. "You are newly arrived at Falkenberg." "Yes, Highness, 3 days ago." "You were assigned to laundry and linens?" "Yes, Highness. And yet when my son did not cry at birth, you stepped forward and gave directions to my physician." Her throat tightened. "I only suggested, Highness, that there might be something in his throat. That is all." Baron von Walden took a small step forward. His voice was smooth, almost pleasant. "Perhaps you might tell us, child, why such an idea occurred to you. It did not occur to those trained in medicine who were present." Anna glanced at him, then back at Leopold. "My mother was a midwife, sir, in our village. She taught me some things. Once there was a child who could not cry, and she looked into the throat. So when I saw the prince's throat moving strangely and his chest struggling, I thought of that." "You have attended births yourself?" the midwife asked, frowning. "Only as my mother's helper, ma'am," Anna said quickly. "I brought water. I held the mother's hands. Sometimes I held the baby's while she worked. I am no midwife, and yet you knew where to press your finger." Baron von Walden's eyes sharpened. "You spoke very confidently. If there is something, I will find it." "Those were your words, I am told." Anna swallowed. "I do not remember my exact words, sir. I only knew that if something was lodged there, it had to be removed gently. My mother showed me once." "In what circumstances?" he asked. "Did she often find such things in newborns' throats?" "No, sir. Only once," Anna admitted. "And that child—" She stopped, saying that the child had died in that long-ago smoky cottage would help no one here. Baron von Walden tilted his head. "Yes? That child what?" "That child was weak," she said carefully. "My mother did all she could. Your mother's name? He asked. Margaret Keller, Anna replied. The dowager stirred. I have heard of her, she said. From the clergy in your region years ago, they spoke of a woman who interfered with nature too boldly, who gave people herbs and charms instead of sending them to prayer. Anna felt heat rise in her cheeks. She gave them herbs, Highness, yes, but herbs are not charms. They are plants God made. Some plants are meant for animals, not people, the dowager said dryly. And some people are meant to accept God's will, not twist it. Leopold shifted slightly in his chair. Mother, he said quietly. She waved her hand, folding the handkerchief more tightly. We must speak plainly, Leopold. The child was born silent. Then this girl put her hand in his throat and drew out a piece of something written with dark signs. And now he cries. We cannot pretend this is ordinary. It is not ordinary, Dr. Meinhard agreed. He cleared his throat. Highness, with respect, we must understand what that object was and how it came to be there, and we must be certain the girl had no prior knowledge of it. Anna stared at him. Prior knowledge? Doctor, I did not even know there would be a birth until the housekeeper sent me with linens. Baron von Walden raised his brows. You expect us to believe you came to the chamber with no other purpose, and by chance alone you noticed what none of us did? Yes, sir, Anna said. I noticed because my mother told me to watch the throat, that is all. I never saw such a strip before. I have never seen writing like that. You claim you cannot read it, he said. I cannot read anything beyond simple signs, Anna answered. I can barely read my own name. She did seem surprised, Dr. Meinhard admitted reluctantly, when we unfolded it. The strip is in the prince's possession, Baron von Walden said. I have advised His Highness that it should be destroyed, to remove any stain of superstition from this house. I have declined that advice, Leopold said, his voice even. I will not destroy the only physical proof of something that could have killed my son. Baron von Walden inclined his head slightly, as if this were only a small disagreement. Of course, Highness, you are sovereign here, but you see that questions must be asked. They have been, Leopold replied, and the answers are plain. The girl saved the child, or saved a situation she herself arranged, the Baron said softly. The words dropped into the room like stones into water. The midwife stiffened. Dr. Meinhard's mouth fell open. That is an accusation, Leopold said, his voice suddenly sharper. Not yet, Highness, Baron von Walden replied. Only a possibility we must dismiss, or confirm, for the safety of the realm. He turned back to Anna. Did anyone speak to you before the birth about the prince's child? Did anyone tell you what to do? Promise you anything? No, sir, Anna said. Did you see this strip of parchment at any time before last night? No, sir. Do you know the symbols written on it? Have you seen similar marks, perhaps in your mother's house? No, sir, she repeated. I told you. I have never seen such writing. The Baron regarded her in silence for a long moment. His gaze was not cruel, just watchful, as if he were examining an unusual specimen. Why did you not remain where you were told to stand? He asked. Servants are instructed not to step forward unless called, yet you did. You interrupted. You insisted. That is bold behavior for a new maid. Because the child was struggling, Anna said, surprising herself with the force in her own voice. He was trying to cry, but he could not. I have seen it once before. If we had waited, he might have... She caught herself. He might have been harmed. Silence held for a moment. You see, Highness, Baron von Walden said quietly, turning back to Leopold. She speaks as if she were responsible for the child's life, as if she understands more than your own physician. Leopold's jaw tightened. She is responsible for his life, he said. Last night, when we were all helpless. Responsibility can come in two ways, the Baron replied. By making a danger and then removing it, or by seeing a danger no one else has placed. I'm not saying which is true. I am saying we must be sure. Anna's hands shook. She clasped them in front of her to hide it. How could I have placed it there, she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I was not in the room until the housekeeper sent me with sheets. I was near the corridor, but the baby had already been born. The midwives can tell you. The chief midwife shifted uneasily. That is true, she said. She came in only after the birth with the linen. And before that? Baron von Walden asked. Had she been near the princess's rooms earlier in the day? I sent her once with water, Frau Roth admitted, and once to bring clean cloths, that is all. She is new. I would not place her in a birth chamber. So, the Baron concluded, she had opportunity. She had access to the corridor. She has unusual knowledge for a laundress. Her mother had a certain reputation. She knows what to look for in a child's throat. And when she looks, she finds a strip inscribed with symbols no one here recognizes. It is enough, the Dowager said, dabbing at her eyes. We must decide what to do. Prince Leopold rose from his chair. The movement drew every eye in the room. What we will do, he said, is this. We will not pretend the child was not saved. We will not pretend the one who saved him is guilty without proof. Leopold, the Dowager began. He lifted one hand slightly. Mother. No. The girl cannot have placed this object herself. There were midwives, physicians, nurses, guards moving constantly. If we are to suspect anyone, we must suspect them all. And I refuse to accuse my household of such a crime with nothing more than dark suggestions. Baron von Walden's voice remained calm. No one suggests a public accusation, Highness, but appearances matter, whispers matter. The people must see that you are watchful, that you do not allow strange practices near the heir. Leopold's gaze rested on Anna again. She felt something like a plea rise up in her chest, though she did not let it reach her lips. What do you suggest? He asked the Baron. A clear statement, Baron von Walden said, that the girl will not be permitted near the child again, that we are grateful for her service, however strange, but that her presence in the nursery might disturb the prince's peace. That, considering her background, it is prudent to assign her to humbler, less sensitive duties. Quietly, of course. There is no need for public punishment. Anna's breath caught. Highness, she said quickly, please. I do not ask to see the child, I only— You will remain silent until spoken to, the Dowager snapped. Leopold hesitated. For a moment it seemed he might refuse. His mouth tightened. His fingers drummed once on the arm of his chair. In that pause, Anna saw how alone she was. She had no family name, no allies of rank. If he chose to listen to the Baron, there would be nothing she could say to change it. At last, Leopold spoke. Very well, he said. Anna Keller will not enter the nursery again without my explicit order. She will be reassigned to general housework. She will not be dismissed, nor will she be punished. Rumors of witchcraft will cease at once. Anyone heard spreading them will answer to me. The words landed like blows and like shelter at the same time. She would keep her place. She would be kept away. The Dowager nodded once, satisfied. Baron von Walden bowed slightly, as if the compromise had been his idea. And the strip? He asked. The parchment? It remains with me, Leopold said. You are all dismissed. Anna sank into a curtsy, then backed away. Her legs felt strangely weak. She could feel Baron von Walden's eyes on her as she walked toward the door, dignity held together by sheer will. Outside the chamber, the air felt cooler. Captain Brandt followed her into the corridor, his expression unreadable. You have been spared a worse fate, he remarked quietly. Is that what you call it? Anna asked. For now, he said. Keep your head down. Do your work. Let the talk die. Will it die? She asked. He paused. Sometimes, he said. Sometimes it only moves into other rooms. Frau Roth appeared at her side again, brisk and practical. Come, Anna. There is no time for standing about. The kitchens always need hands. You will report there after the midday meal, and you will not speak of what was said in that room to anyone. Do you understand? Yes, Frau Roth, Anna murmured. The rest of the day blurred. Heat from the kitchen fires, voices calling for more bread, more water, more wood. The clang of pots, the scrape of chairs. No one ordered her to carry anything to the nursery. She heard the baby's cry only faintly, drifting down from an unseen floor, muffled by stone and distance. That night, when the work finally slackened, Frau Roth handed her a key. This will be your room now, she said. Second door on the left in the servants' wing. You will sleep alone. Consider it an honor. Most share. Anna accepted the key. Alone. It did not feel like an honor. It felt like a circle drawn around her. The room was small, with a narrow bed, a chest, and a tiny window too high to see out of, without standing on the chest. She set her bundle of belongings at the foot of the bed. A spare dress, a comb, a small wooden cross. She sat down, but her body was too restless for sleep. Bits of the day replayed in her mind. The Baron's calm questions, the Dowager's tight mouth, Leopold's brief defense, his compromise, the way the word witch had hung unspoken but heavy in the chamber. She lay down and stared at the dim ceiling. The palace had many floors above her, many secrets in its walls. Somewhere up there a child slept or cried. Somewhere in a drawer lay a strip of parchment, with strange marks that had nearly stolen his voice. A soft murmur drifted into the room. She frowned and realized there must be a gap near the floorboards where sound from the corridor slipped through. The voices were low, but the passage beyond her door must be close. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and moved to the door, careful not to let it creak. Pressing her ear lightly against the wood, she listened. "Cannot be allowed to upset everything," a man was saying. His voice was smooth, confident. "Baron von Walden." "We have kept peace for 20 years, a woman answered, her tone tight. "Peace built on such things was never pure." "You consented at the time," the Baron replied. "You knew what was at stake. Your husband believed it necessary. So did you." The Dowager, Anna realized. "I was told it was a blessing," Amalia said. "An extra guard over the child, not this thing in his throat." "The form changes, but the purpose remains," the Baron said. "The oath is what matters. It was made for the good of Falkenberg, and it worked. We have survived wars, unrest, famine. Do you think that is all chance?" Anna's heart thudded. Oath, 20 years. Her mind leapt to the number. Leopold was near 30. 20 years ago, he would have been a boy. "The oath demanded that the next heir be marked," the Dowager said slowly. "Yes, I remember, but I did not know it would be like this. The mark is only a symbol," the Baron said. "It binds the line of succession to something stronger than politics. It ensures loyalty from those who share the vow. If the boy had remained as he was, quiet, malleable, we could have guided him. And now," the Dowager asked, "now his first barrier has been broken," Baron von Walden said, "by a village girl with a midwife's tricks. She saw what she should not have seen. She touched what was meant to remain in place." Anna's hand tightened on the door handle. "She saved his life," Amalia said sharply. "Perhaps," the Baron replied. "But do not forget, my lady, that she now knows something is wrong. She has seen the writing. She has heard us speak of 20 years. Ignorant as she may be, her mere presence is a risk. Others may use her, question her, draw out pieces of truth. She is a maid," the Dowager said. "What can she do?" "Sometimes the lowliest voices carry farthest," the Baron answered. "If she speaks out of turn, if she wonders aloud how the strip came to be there, the wrong ears may hear. We have enemies at court and beyond. They would be delighted to claim that the heir of Falkenberg was once pledged to strange forces." There was a pause, then the Dowager's voice again, softer. "What do you propose?" "First," the Baron said, "we must ensure she is kept away from the child. That has been done today. I am glad you and the prince agreed. Second, we must watch her. If she shows any sign of gossiping, of whispering to others, she must be removed." Anna's breath stopped. "Removed," the Dowager repeated. "Sent away," he said smoothly, quietly, "to another household or to a place where her voice will carry no weight. People disappear from palaces often enough without causing a stir. A small pension, perhaps. A note that her services are no longer required. No cruelty. Just distance." "And if she refuses?" Amalia asked. "Then we must be firmer," he said, "for the sake of the child, for the sake of what was begun 20 years ago. The oath cannot be questioned, the mark cannot be discussed, and the maid must not speak of what she saw." Anna shifted her weight without meaning to. The old floorboard beneath her foot creaked faintly. The voices in the corridor stopped at once. Silence fell on the other side of the door, thick and sudden, like a blanket dropped over a flame. Anna did not move. She stood barefoot on the cold floor, hand on the latch, ear pressed to the door, her whole body suddenly rigid. The silence outside stretched so long she began to hear her own pulse. Then the Baron's voice came again, lower, sharper. "Did you hear that?" A pause. The Dowager's reply was just a breath. "It is an old building. Wood shifts at night." "Carelessness shifts," he said. "Who sleeps in this corridor?" "New maids, mostly," she answered. "One of them, the Keller girl, was given a room near here." Anna's fingers tightened. A step creaked outside. A hand brushed the door. She could feel the faint vibration. Baron von Walden spoke right on the other side of the wood. If she hears anything, she will not understand it. You said yourself that sometimes the lowliest voices carry farthest, the Dowager replied. Then we will speak elsewhere, he said, and we will keep a closer watch. Their footsteps moved away at last. Anna stayed frozen until the sounds faded completely, then forced herself to release the latch. Her hand left a damp print on the wood. She lay down fully dressed and stared into the dark, until sleep finally dragged her under. The next morning came with no sign that anything had changed. Bells rang, orders were given, trays clattered. Yet Anna felt eyes on her wherever she walked. At the scullery, one of the older maids brushed past and muttered, "You should not listen at doors." Anna flinched. "I did not." "It is written on your face," the woman said. "If you wish to stay, learn to see without being seen, hear without listening." In the stairwell, someone had spilled soapy water. Anna, carrying a stack of plates, put her foot down on the slick step and slid. The plates lurched in her arms. For one dizzy second, she saw herself and the crockery tumbling down together. A firm hand grabbed the banister just above her, blocking her fall. Captain Brandt stood at the turn of the stairs, his arm braced, his expression unmoved. "Careful," he said. Anna steadied the plates against her chest. "Thank you, Captain," she whispered. He glanced at the wet stair. "Who left this?" he asked the maid below. She shrugged. "Someone was scrubbing. Perhaps they forgot." "People forget less lately," he said. "Be more precise in future. The palace has enough accidents." He let Anna pass. As she brushed by, he added under his breath, "Watch the ground in front of you, Anna Keller, and the people behind you." That afternoon, as she crossed a side courtyard with a basket of laundry, a bucket tipped from a windowsill above. Water splashed where she had been standing a heartbeat earlier, soaking the stone. An empty bucket clattered away. A boy's startled face appeared at the window. "I did not see anyone," he stammered. Anna smiled faintly up at him. "You see now," she said. "Be more careful." She did not mention it to Frau Roth. She did not need to. The housekeeper missed nothing. That evening, as they rolled sheets, she spoke without looking up. "Some people are clumsy," Frau Roth said. "Some are told to be clumsy." Anna paused. "Told? Do not ask who," Frau Roth said. "Do not ask why. Just understand that you have walked into the middle of things that were set in motion before you were born. And be small. The larger you appear, the easier you are to strike." "I have done nothing wrong," Anna said quietly. "The palace does not always punish wrong," Frau Roth answered. "It punishes inconvenience. Do not be inconvenient, child." Days passed. No one summoned her to the nursery. News of the baby came in fragments. The nurse's tired smile as she fetched warm milk, the midwife's remark at the well. "He cries now," the midwife told another woman. "More than cries, he complains." "Good," the other answered. "Let him. It means he is alive." Anna latched onto those glimpses. At night she dreamed of the parchment in his throat, of tiny fingers reaching for air. One afternoon, as she scrubbed a scrubbed floor that did not need more scrubbing, Captain Brandt appeared again. "You have been reassigned from the upper floors," he said. "I know," she replied. "Now they speak of sending you away," he added. Her brush stopped. "Away? Where?" "A workhouse in the south," he said, "or to a relative of the Dowager who needs staff. The stories differ, but the intention is the same." "Who decided this?" Anna asked. He held her gaze. "You know well enough." "Can they do that?" she asked. "Just send me away as if I were a parcel?" "Yes," he said. "They can." She swallowed. "And you?" "I carry messages," he said. "I do not decide who is sent where." He studied her face. "Do you wish to leave?" "No," she said at once. Then she hesitated. "But if I stay, they may be firmer." "You have a sharp ear," he remarked. She thought of the corridor, the whispered word removed. She said nothing. "That is my concern, not yours," he added. "Yours is to survive. Keep your head low, and if anyone offers you a new post in a far monastery or a distant household with too much haste, ask yourself why." That evening, a clerk from the steward's office came searching for her, holding a folded paper. "Anna Keller?" he asked. She wiped her hands and approached. "Yes, sir." He squinted. "You are to sign here," he said, pointing to the bottom. "It confirms that you agree to a change of position." "What kind of change?" she asked. "A transfer," he said. "Her Highness the Dowager has kindly arranged employment for you in a respectable household some distance from Falkenberg. A good opportunity." Anna's pulse jumped. "I was not told." He shrugged. "I was told to tell you now." "I cannot read what is written," she said. He hesitated. "It states that you accept dismissal from the palace staff with fair notice, and that you renounce any claim to further wages here. In exchange, you will receive a letter of recommendation and what if I do not sign?" she asked. He shifted. "Then I suppose the matter will be taken up in another way." Anna looked at the paper. The black lines blurred. May I have until morning?" she asked. "To think," the clerk frowned. "There is no reason for delay. This is a favor." "Even so," she said, "I have nothing but my work. It is a large decision for me." He sighed. "Very well, I will return tomorrow." When he left, she stood alone with the ink still wet in her mind. That night, as she lay in bed, the silence pressed on her. To stay meant living under suspicion, waiting for the next arranged accident. To go meant turning her back on the child she had saved, leaving the parchment and its meaning in the hands of those who had placed it there. She turned on her side and stared at the shadow under the door. Somewhere above, a soft wail drifted through stone and wood. Friedrich, awake. "Hush," someone murmured to him. "Hush, little one." The sound tugged at her like a thread. In Prince Leopold's chambers, sleep did not come easily either. He sat at his desk, the room lit only by a single lamp. Before him lay a small wooden box. He had opened it twice already, then closed it again. Now, with no one watching, he forced himself to lift the lid once more. Inside lay the strip of parchment, dried and stiff now, tied with its thread. He unrolled it carefully on the desk. The reddish markings had darkened as they dried. Up close, they seemed less like letters and more like tangled branches, looping and crossing in patterns that pricked at some old memory. He frowned. "What are you?" he murmured. A knock came at the door. He covered the parchment with a blank sheet and called, "Enter." Baron von Walden stepped inside. "You are awake late, Highness," he said. "Forgive the intrusion." Leopold gestured for him to sit. "What is it?" "I wish to speak with you about the girl," the Baron said, "and about the object." "We have spoken of both," Leopold replied. "At length." "Some matters bear repeating," the Baron said with a faint smile. "The girl has been offered a transfer. It would be wise if she accepted." "You arranged this?" Leopold asked. "I facilitated it at the Dowager's request," the Baron answered. "It will ease everyone's mind, including yours, surely." Leopold did not answer. Instead, he shifted the blank paper slightly, aware of the parchment beneath it. "The longer she stays," Baron von Walden continued, "the more talk there will be. People will take her silence for mystery. They will ask what she has seen. It is better if she is gone before curiosity grows." "And the child?" Leopold asked. "If something is wrong, should I not have every witness near me, every bit of knowledge, however small?" "The child is well," the Baron said. "He cries, he feeds. If he coughs, the nurse will tend him. Doctors will watch him. He does not need a village girl hovering nearby." Leopold's gaze hardened. "She saved him when others failed," he said. "That will not be forgotten." "Gratitude is not forgotten," the Baron replied. "But gratitude must not cloud judgment. You have seen what superstition can do among the people. They already whisper about curses. If you appear too enthralled by this girl, they will say you are under her spell. That will weaken your authority." Leopold's mouth tightened. "I am not enthralled by anyone," he said. Baron von Walden inclined his head as if accepting a rebuke. "Forgive me. I speak only from concern. As for the strip, it remains where it is," Leopold said flatly. "At least let me have a copy made," the Baron suggested. "There are scholars who might recognize the symbols. If we know what it signifies, we can put stories to rest." "And how many more will know of it then?" Leopold asked. "How many more will question how it came to be in my son's throat?" The Baron spread his hands. "Then we remain in the dark, Highness. Darkness breeds fear." "Sometimes," Leopold said, "sometimes it hides shame." Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, something unspoken lay between them. At last the Baron rose. "As you wish," he said. "I will not press you further tonight." He left quietly. When the door closed, Leopold lifted the blank page again and stared at the parchment. Darkness hides shame. Whose shame? His father's? His own for not stopping this sooner? The Baron's. A small, distant cry came again from the upper floor. Friedrich's voice. It quivered, then steadied, then faded. Leopold rolled the parchment up and put it back into the box, as if it had burned him. The decision came with the morning. The nurse appeared at his door with worry written plainly on her face. "Highness," she said, bobbing a quick curtsy. "Forgive me, but the prince—" His breathing sounds strange again. Leopold stood at once. "Strange how?" "Not as before," she said. "Not silent. But when he tries to babble, the sound catches. It is like a wheel that will not turn smoothly." He did not wait for more. "Send for Dr. Meinhard," he said, and he hesitated. The Baron's warning echoed in his mind. So did Anna's hands, steady over a fragile throat. "Send for Anna Keller," he said. The nurse blinked. "Highness, she has been forbidden." "I know what has been said," he cut in. "She is to come." Quietly. "Tell Captain Brandt it is by my order." The nurse lowered her gaze. "Yes, Highness." Anna was in the kitchen, washing vegetables, when Captain Brandt appeared at the door. "Keller," he said, "come with me." Frau Roth bristled. "I have need of her here." "Prince's orders," Brandt said. "She will be returned if possible." Frau Roth's eyes flicked to Anna. Concern warred with discipline. "Dry your hands," she said, "and mind your speech." In the corridor, Anna walked beside the captain, heart pounding. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To the nursery," he said. Her breath caught. "I thought—" "So did everyone," he replied. "It seems His Highness has thought again." They took a back stair away from the usual routes. At the nursery door, the nurse waited, wringing her hands. She opened the door quickly and ushered them in. The room was warm, tidy, with a small bed, a cradle, and a rug, where one day a child might learn to walk. Friedrich lay in the cradle, cheeks flushed, eyes bright. He moved his hands when he saw the light change. Leopold stood near the window. He turned as they entered. "Thank you, Captain," he said. "You may wait outside." Brandt nodded and withdrew. The nurse closed the door softly, leaving Anna alone with the prince and the child. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Leopold cleared his throat. "Anna Keller," he said, "I am aware that I ordered you to be kept away from this room." "Yes, Highness," she answered. "And yet I sent for you," he went on, "because when my son struggled to breathe, you saw what no one else did. I would be a fool to ignore that now." Anna looked at the cradle. "Is he in danger again?" "He breathes," the nurse said quickly. "But listen, Highness." She stepped closer to the cradle and tickled Friedrich's chin. He gave a small gurgling sound, then tried to form something more. The sound caught, stuttered, then broke off into a strangled half-syllable. He frowned as if frustrated. "It started in the night," the nurse said. "He is not silent, but he seems hindered." Leopold's jaw clenched. "I will not watch him struggle again if I can prevent it," he said. "Will you look at him, Anna?" "Yes," she said softly. She moved to the cradle and bent over. Friedrich stared up at her, his tiny hands waving. His eyes, a lighter version of his father's, fixed on her face as if he recognized her. "Hello," she whispered. "We meet again." He cooed, then tried to form a sound, lips rounding. The noise came out thin and broken. Anna laid her hand gently against his chest. His breathing was regular, though a bit fast. She slid a finger along his throat, feeling the muscles flex as he swallowed. "May I?" she asked Leopold, glancing quickly at him. He nodded. She took a clean corner of the cloth covering the cradle and eased it into Friedrich's mouth as she had before, but more cautiously. His tiny tongue pressed against it, curious. She retreated, then tried again, touching the back of his mouth. "No," she murmured. "There is nothing there. Nothing like before." "Then why?" Leopold began. "Whatever troubles him now is not a thing I can pull out," she said. "It is like the memory of the other, as if his voice is trying to go past a door that has been locked and unlocked too quickly." The nurse looked anxious. "Is that serious?" she asked. I do not know, Anna admitted. His chest is strong, his breath is good. But his voice, it remembers being held back. Leopold studied her face. You speak as if his voice is a person. In a way it is, she said. My mother used to say that the first cry sets a path inside a child. His first path was blocked. Now he must find another. Silence fell for a moment. Highness, Anna said carefully, there is something I must tell you. About what I heard. He straightened. What you heard? That night, she said, after they spoke with me, in the servants' corridor. She glanced at the nurse. Speak, Leopold said. You may stay, he added to the nurse. You have as much right as anyone to hear. Anna took a breath. I heard Baron von Walden and the Dowager Princess, she said. They spoke of 20 years of peace, of an oath, of the next heir being marked. They said the mark was a symbol that would bind the line. They spoke of your father, of a night when certain promises were made in this palace, and they said the maid must be watched, and if she spoke of what she saw, she must be removed. Leopold's face altered slowly as she spoke. Surprise, then anger, then something harder to read. Removed, he repeated. Sent away, Anna said. Quietly, the nurse exhaled sharply. So that is why they want you gone. I thought perhaps it was only because they feared what people would say, Anna said. But it is more than that. They fear what you will learn, or what others will learn through me. Leopold turned away, walking to the window. His hands were clenched behind his back. 20 years, he said under his breath. I was 9. He remembered a winter night, heavy curtains drawn, his father arguing with the dowager in hushed tones, being told to go to bed early, waking later to the sound of many feet in the corridor, the murmur of men's voices, a faint scent of incense from the west wing. You knew of some oath? Anna asked quietly. I knew something was done, he said. My father spoke once of binding Falkenberg to its future. He said it was not for children to understand. I was sent to my tutor. The west wing was closed for several days. The west wing, the nurse repeated. There is an old chapel there, Leopold said slowly. Used rarely even in my grandfather's time. My father had a fondness for ceremonies. He liked visible signs for invisible things. Have you been there since? Anna asked. He hesitated. No, he said. After his death, the wing felt heavy. I had enough to do without exploring old rooms. Perhaps that is where it began, Anna said. This oath, the mark. Whatever was written on that strip came from somewhere, Highness. Someone in this house prepared it, blessed it, tied it. They meant it to be in your son. He turned back to her. You have seen it? Only briefly, she said, when the doctor unrolled it. But the shapes, they were not any letters I know, yet they felt deliberate. Leopold glanced at the nurse. Say nothing of this, he told her. She clutched her apron. I swear it, Highness. On my life and the child's. He looked again at his son. Friedrich had grown drowsy under Anna's gentle touch. His lashes fluttered. Anna, Leopold said, come with me. To where? She asked. To see exactly what was almost bound to him, he said, and perhaps learn who I must hold to account. He turned to the nurse. Watch him. Send for Dr. Meinhard if his breathing changes again, and do not mention whom I have brought here. The nurse nodded. In the corridor, Captain Brandt straightened as they emerged. Keller will come with me, Leopold said. If anyone asks, she is carrying messages for the steward. Yes, Highness, Brandt replied. His gaze lingered briefly on Anna's face, as if to warn her to be cautious. Leopold led her through a series of corridors she had never seen, past portraits and doorways guarded by quiet servants. At last they reached his study. He closed the door and went to the desk. The wooden box came out again, the parchment unrolled under the lamplight. Anna stepped closer, drawn despite herself. The strip lay across the wood, its edges curling slightly. The marks seemed darker now, as if they had drunk in the light. Look, he said. She did. The symbols looped and angled, some crossing, some stacked. They did not form words she could read, but there was pattern, not chaos. She frowned. These shapes... Yes? He asked. She glanced around the room. Her gaze caught on a carved panel above the hearth. The Falkenberg crest, a rearing stag, a stylized hill, and above it a wreath of strange leaves. Highness, she said. May I? He nodded. She walked to the panel and traced the carved leaves with her eyes. Their curves, the way they crossed, the little hooks at the ends. She turned back to the parchment. The lines here, she said, pointing. They are like the leaves there, twisted but the same. He came to stand beside her. Our crest is older than my grandfather, he said. I have seen it 1,000 times and never thought, what if someone took its shapes and turned them into marks, she asked, to make the oath feel tied to your house, to your blood. He stared at the two designs, one carved, one written. If that is true, he said quietly, then whoever did this knew exactly whose child they would touch. He rang the bell by the door. A servant appeared. Ask Dr. Meinhard to attend me, Leopold said. At once, and say nothing to the Baron. The servant bowed and left. Anna looked at the parchment again. Do you think the doctor will talk? She asked. He will, if he remembers who he serves, Leopold said, and if he has any remaining conscience. Dr. Meinhard entered a short while later, eyes tired, hair disordered as if he had been pulled from sleep. Highness, he said, bowing, you sent for me. Is the prince worse? For now he is much as he was, Leopold said. This concerns another matter. He gestured to the desk. The doctor's gaze fell on the parchment. His face drained of color. Highness, he stammered. I thought that was... I did not expect... You thought it burned? Leopold asked softly. Perhaps you thought the matter would be buried with my wife. Yet here it is. And here is the girl who found it. You will explain exactly how such a thing came to be in my son's throat. Dr. Meinhard wrung his hands. Highness, I was told... By whom? Leopold asked. The doctor swallowed. Baron von Walden, he whispered. And your late father? Anna felt a chill. They said it was a blessing, Dr. Meinhard went on in a rush. An old form seldom used, a symbol of protection, placed where the child's first breath would pass. They said it would not harm him, only bind him to the strength of the house. They said it had been prepared carefully by those who understood such things. And you agreed, Leopold said. His voice was calm, but there was a tightness in it. I did not insert it myself, the doctor said quickly. A midwife of their choosing did that at the moment of birth. I only allowed it. I turned away at the crucial time, as instructed. I thought, he pressed his fingers to his temples. I thought if I did not see it, I would not be responsible. You were still there, Anna said quietly. He looked at her, eyes haunted. Yes, he said, I was still there. You said, those who understood such things, Leopold said. Who? I do not know their names, the doctor said, only that they were part of a circle, men of influence from across the region. They came at night, 20 years ago, to the old chapel in the West Wing. They made an oath with your father. They said the strength of Falkenberg would be tied to the firstborn of the next generation, that he would be guided, shaped, protected, that he would not stray. Not stray, Leopold repeated, meaning he would not speak a word they did not approve. Doctor, Meinhard winced. When they asked me to assist with the mark for your own son, I was uneasy, but they said if I refused, another would take my place, one without my care for the child's health. They said they wanted someone who would watch for harm. They said many things, Leopold cut in. You chose which to believe. The doctor bowed his head. Yes, Highness. And this writing? Leopold asked, pointing at the parchment. Do you know what it says? I cannot read it, Dr. Meinhard admitted. Only that they called it the binding script, that it had been copied from an older text kept by one of their number. They insisted the strip be placed so the first breath would pass it. They spoke of vows and echoes and 20 years of peace, Anna said. He flinched. You heard them? Yes, she said. In the corridor. They spoke of what was begun then, of how it must not be questioned. Leopold studied the doctor. You will show me this chapel, he said. You will show me where they gathered. Dr. Meinhard hesitated. Highness, I do not know if I remember. You remember enough, Leopold said. Or you will try for your own sake. The doctor nodded slowly. Very well. He shifted, his gaze darting to the door. Highness, may I ask, who else knows you are speaking of this? Anna, Leopold said. Myself. You. The nurse has heard mention of an oath, but not its details. And the Baron? The doctor asked. He knows only that I kept the parchment, Leopold answered. He does not know we are meeting now. Dr. Meinhard's shoulders relaxed a fraction. Then perhaps we can... Footsteps sounded in the corridor, not the light tread of a servant, but a measured, confident stride. Anna's stomach clenched. Leopold frowned. I gave orders not to be disturbed, he said. The door opened without a knock. Baron von Walden stepped inside, followed by 2 palace guards. Their hands were empty, but their presence filled the room. Highness, the Baron said smoothly, I apologize for the intrusion. I was told Dr. Meinhard had been summoned here. I thought it wise to join you, given the sensitivity of recent events. His gaze swept the room. It landed on Anna, on the unrolled parchment, on the doctor's ashen face. The slight smile at his mouth did not reach his eyes. It seems I was right, he said softly. We are indeed discussing matters that concern the safety of Falkenberg. Leopold's posture stiffened. You enter without permission, Baron. I come as your advisor, the Baron replied, and as a guardian of the oath your father swore. And I find you here with a trembling doctor, a servant girl of questionable background, and a document that should never have been seen by such eyes. Anna felt the guard's presence behind her like a wall. Baron von Walden took a step nearer the desk. Highness, this cannot continue, he said. The girl interferes where she does not belong. She has handled the air, spoken out of turn, and now she pries into secrets beyond her station. The more she knows, the more danger she presents. I must insist that she be taken into custody for questioning. Her influence over the child and over you must be examined. She has no influence over me, Leopold said coldly. Then you will not object if she is removed from your presence, the Baron replied. He looked at the guards. Anna Keller is to be detained. She will be held until her part in this matter is fully understood. Leopold's jaw clenched. You forget yourself, Baron. You give orders in my study as if you ruled here. I serve Falkenberg, the Baron said, even when its prince hesitates. The oath was sworn before you came of age, but its protection extends to you and your son. It is my duty to defend it, and that means silencing those who might break it. His eyes locked on Anna's. Take her, he said quietly. The guards stepped toward Anna. She did not move back. There was nowhere to go. Behind her, the desk. To either side, the walls. Their hands reached for her arms. Not rough yet, but firm. Stop, Leopold said. The word cut through the air. The guards froze, hands half extended. Baron von Walden turned slowly. Highness, he said, you cannot hesitate now. She must be secured. If she leaves this room, she may speak to anyone. She is already under my eye, Leopold replied. She will not be taken anywhere without my order. She is not yours alone, the Baron said. She is a subject of Falkenberg. She may threaten more than your household. The oath involves many families. If she begins to talk, then perhaps those families should be uneasy, Leopold said, if their safety depends on a child's throat being filled with writing. Dr. Meinhard swallowed audibly. Anna stood very still, her heart pounding against the inside of her ribs like a frightened bird. Highness, the Baron said, you are young. You did not see how your father struggled to keep this land intact. He did what was necessary. The oath was not whim. It was sacrifice. You speak of sacrifice, Leopold said softly. Not your own. My son's. The Baron's jaw tightened. You misjudge. The boy would have lived. The mark would have guided him, that is all. He did not breathe, Leopold said, each word measured. He did not cry. And if not for this girl, he might not have lived at all. She knew where to look, the Baron said. That is precisely the trouble. Leopold stepped between Anna and the guards. It was a small movement, but it placed him squarely in their path. If you wish to accuse her formally, he said, you may do so before the court, not in my study, not with half-truths and hints. A formal accusation will shake the principality, the Baron said. Then we will let it shake, Leopold answered. Better that than rot quietly. Their gazes locked. The guards stood uncertain, caught between two wills. At last, Baron von Walden inclined his head a fraction. Very well, he said. If you insist on dragging this into the light, let it be done properly. Convene the council, summon the clergy, let them hear what has been done in the name of Falkenberg. But do not forget, Highness, that when you tear down the old supports, the roof may fall. I will trust the walls to stand without your props, Leopold said. Captain Brandt. The door opened at once. Captain Brandt must have been just outside. Highness, have the great hall prepared, Leopold said. Message to the Dowager. I request her presence. Summon the councillors, the steward, the clergy, as many as can be gathered quickly, and send a footman to ask that the nurse bring the prince when it is safe to do so. I want no one saying we speak of him without him present. Brandt's eyes flicked over the scene, taking in Anna, the doctor, the baron, the parchment. He only nodded. At once, Highness. Baron von Walden smiled thinly. A bold choice, he murmured. Let us see how the people like having their illusions removed. He turned to Anna. You will stand by what you have said, child. Yes, Anna replied. Even if the price is high, he asked. She met his gaze. The price was high for the child already, she said. Someone should pay it besides him. Something like respect flickered across his face, quickly masked. We shall see. They went down together to the great hall. The space that usually echoed with music on feast days filled instead with the low murmur of urgent voices. Councillors in heavy coats, ladies with half-buttoned gowns, priests clutching prayer books, all had been pulled from their routines and led here by brisk-footed servants. At the far end, beneath the Falkenberg banner, a chair had been set for Leopold. The Dowager sat to one side, her face composed but pale. Captain Brandt stood against a column. A few steps from the center, Anna waited, hands clasped. Leopold took his place. Baron von Walden stood slightly forward, ready to speak. Doctor. Meinhard hovered near the edge, fingers twisting his hat. The silver box with the parchment rested on a small table beside the prince. The noise settled as Leopold rose. I have called you here, he said, because something has been done in this house that touches not only my family but the honor of Falkenberg. A chill moved through the hall. He rarely spoke so plainly of dishonor. He went on. Last night, my son was born. Many of you rejoiced. Some of you grieved my wife's death. I share both feelings. Yet amid the joy and sorrow, a third fact demands our attention. The heir was born unable to cry. He breathed, but no sound came from him. He struggled, and we could not help him. He looked toward Anna. Then a maid, new to this house, stepped forward. Against the advice of those above her, she suggested that there might be something lodged in his throat. I allowed her to examine him. She removed an object. At once, my son cried. Murmurs swelled, then stilled. This, Leopold said, opening the box and lifting the parchment with care, is what she found. He unrolled it just enough to show the marks, then held it up for the nearer rows to see. Those further back craned their necks. What is that? Someone whispered. Some old writing, another replied. Not any alphabet I know, said one of the councillors. Leopold laid it back down. It is a strip of parchment, he said, rolled and placed where a newborn's voice should pass. On it are marks made to echo our own crest, not by chance, by design. He glanced at the Dowager. Her hands tightened on her handkerchief, but she did not speak yet. Dr. Meinhard, Leopold said, you will tell them what you told me. The doctor stepped forward as if walking to a scaffold. He cleared his throat. Highness, ladies, gentlemen, he began. I served the late prince, God rest his soul, as well as our present one. 20 years ago, I was present at a gathering in the old chapel of the West Wing. Men of influence from various houses came. They made an oath to bind their fortunes together. What oath? Someone called. He swallowed. An oath that the strength of Falkenberg and the stability of their lands would be tied to the firstborn of the next generation. That child would be marked in a certain way. Symbolically guided, so they said. They called it the binding. A murmur rippled through the hall. What did this mark involve? Asked a clergyman, voice sharp. A script, Dr. Meinhard said, copied from an older text, wound into a roll, placed where the child's first breath would touch it. I was told it would not harm him, that it was like a blessing, a prayer written close to his life. And you believed this? The clergyman demanded. I wanted to, Meinhard said, voice cracking. I wanted to believe that I could stand by my prince and not be forced to choose between loyalty and my oath as a physician. So when they asked me to allow the same for our present prince's son, I did not object. I turned my face away at the moment, as they requested. You did not insert it yourself, Leopold said quietly so all could hear. But you did not stop it. No, Highness, Meinhard whispered. I did not. The Dowager spoke at last. And you did not tell me, she said. He bowed his head. Your husband said it was better you did not know the details, my lady, only that protection had been placed. Whispers rose again, louder now. Some faces turned toward Baron von Walden. Leopold let the noise run its course, then raised a hand. Baron von Walden, he said. You were there that night, were you not? The Baron did not deny it. I stood at your father's side, he said, as I have stood at yours. And you arranged for this strip to be placed in my son's throat, Leopold said. I helped ensure that the oath was fulfilled, the Baron replied, as we had vowed. You did not see him turn blue, Anna thought. You did not hear the silence. Leopold's mouth tightened. You call this protection, he said, yet the child nearly died. The girl exaggerates, the Baron said. Newborns are often slow. The ritual was not intended to harm. It was meant to shape, to ensure the heir would be guided by those who had pledged themselves to this land. A counselor stepped forward. Guided how? He asked. By written words he cannot read? Placed where his voice should be? It is symbolic, the Baron said impatiently. It bound his first breath to the fate of Falkenberg. And to you, Leopold said, and to those who vowed with you, so that his voice would never stray too far from your wishes. Some of the nobles shifted uncomfortably. The idea of a prince whose speech could be controlled did not sit well, even with those who had no love for common-born servants. Leopold turned toward Anna. Anna Keller, he said. Come here. She stepped forward, feeling scores of eyes on her, the whisper of skirts, the faint hiss of breath drawn in and held. Leopold addressed the hall. This is the girl many of you have whispered about, he said. You have called her witch, fool, interrupter. You have said she knew too much. I say she knew what we should have known but did not wish to see. She saw a child struggling and refused to stand still, while we, with all our education and titles, failed. Heat rose in Anna's face. She kept her gaze on a point just above the crowd's heads. Tell them what you did, Leopold said gently. I saw his throat move, Highness, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. I thought of my mother. She was a midwife. Once she told me that sometimes a child's voice is held back, not by God, but by something that should not be there. So I asked to look. I felt something that was not part of him. I pulled it out. The child cried. Nothing more? Baron von Walden said. No spells, no charms? No, Anna said. I prayed, if that counts as a spell, but I did not speak strange words. I did not know what I would find, only that he could not be left like that. Do you know what the writing says? A counselor asked. No, she answered. I cannot read it, I told them so. Have you ever seen such marks before? Someone else asked. No, she said. Only here, and only then. Yet you knew to look, the Baron insisted. I knew to look for something wrong, Anna said. Not for that, for anything. I did not imagine anyone would put writing inside a baby. The hall quieted. Her plain words sat heavily on the polished floor. Leopold took a breath. You have heard enough to know that this was no accident, he said. It was not the work of a passing servant. It was ordered, prepared, defended. In the name of stability, in the name of Falkenberg, by men who sit among you. Several heads turned almost involuntarily toward Baron von Walden. The Baron lifted his chin. Say it plainly, Highness, he said. You think me your enemy. I think you have taken upon yourself a power over my house that does not belong to you, Leopold said. You swear an oath with my father, then hide its terms from his heir. You place symbols in my son's throat without my knowledge. You plan to remove the only witness who saw it, not because she lied, but because she told the truth. That is not service. That is control. And what will you do? The Baron asked quietly. Break the oath. Cast aside what has held this land together as Napoleonic wars raged around us. You play a dangerous game, Highness. I will do what my conscience demands, Leopold said. I will not allow my child's body to be used as a scroll for other men's fears. I will not bind his voice before he has learned to speak. He turned to the gathered nobles and clergy. Hear me, he said. Whatever vows were made in that chapel 20 years ago, I here and now renounce them on behalf of my house. Falkenberg will not be ruled by secret words written in a child's throat. If there is to be loyalty between this throne and its people, it will be earned in daylight." For a moment no one moved. Then Captain Brandt, still at his post by the column, lifted his hand to his chest in a gesture of respect. A few others followed. Not all, but enough. The dowager rose slowly from her chair. Her voice, though tired, carried. "My husband believed he was protecting us," she said. "He feared losing everything. He let fear drive him to trust what he should have questioned. I was not brave enough to stop him. I will not make that mistake again." She faced the Baron. "Heinrich von Walden," she said, "you spoke in my husband's ear. You speak in my son's. You have done much good for this house. But you have also brought this shadow upon it. The oath you defended endangered my grandson. That cannot be excused." The Baron bowed slightly, as if accepting a compliment rather than a rebuke. "And so?" "And so," Leopold said, "you are relieved of your duties as my advisor. From this day you hold no office in Falkenberg. You will retire to your estate. You will answer questions put to you by those appointed to investigate this oath. You will not approach the nursery, the chapel, or this hall without summons. Captain Brandt, see that he is escorted with respect but firmness." Brandt's eyes met the Baron's. There was no triumph in them, only duty. "Yes, Highness." Baron von Walden's mouth tightened. "You cast aside more than an old man," he said. "You cast aside a shield you do not yet understand. When storms come, remember that it was your own hand that opened the gates. I would rather face storms honestly than shelter behind something that chokes my child," Leopold said. The Baron's gaze flicked once to Anna. For an instant his eyes softened, almost rueful. "You have changed more than one life, girl," he said quietly. "Take care what you do with that power." He turned and walked away between the guards. No chains, no blows, only the weight of watching eyes. When he was gone, the tension in the hall eased, though it did not disappear. Leopold looked back at the assembly. "As for Anna Keller," he said, "I will say this plainly. She is under my protection. She will not be dismissed for what she has done. She will not be sent away to silence her. Anyone who spreads slander about her or her late mother will answer to me." The words seemed to surprise even him, as if they had come from a place deeper than habit. Some faces still showed doubt. Others, especially among the lower-ranking servants and a few younger nobles, looked relieved. "You may return to your duties," Leopold said. "Pray for the soul of my wife, if you are inclined to prayer. And pray also that we may have the courage to face what we have done and what we have undone with clarity." The hall began to empty, pockets of conversation forming at once. The clergy clustered together, debating. Councillors spoke in low voices. Servants hurried off, eager to carry bits of the story to the farthest corners of the palace. Anna remained where she was, uncertain whether she was permitted to move. Leopold stepped down from the dais and approached her. "You have been very calm," he said. "I do not feel calm," she replied. "That makes two of us," he said. She almost smiled. "What will happen now?" she asked. "There will be noise," he said. "Letters, complaints, perhaps a visit from the king's own envoys. But the worst thing, the thing in his throat, has already been removed. The rest is wind." The nursery door at the back of the hall opened. The nurse entered, carrying Friedrich in her arms. His face was solemn, as if he sensed that something important had occurred. Leopold reached for him, holding him close. The child made a soft sound, then another, experimenting. "He will learn to speak without anyone's help," Anna said. Leopold looked at her over the baby's head. "He already has more help than he knows," he said. The dowager watched them from a distance, unreadable, then turned away, leaning on a maid's arm as she left the hall. Later, when the hall was empty and the echoes had faded, Leopold asked Captain Brandt to see the doctor back to his rooms and to set a quiet watch on Baron von Walden's departure. Then he sent for Anna. She met him in a smaller gallery that overlooked the inner courtyard. The late light fell in pale strips across the floor. "You wished to see me, Highness?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Not as a prince this time, or not only." She blinked. "I do not understand." He gestured toward a bench by the window. "Sit with me, just for a moment. There are no councillors here, no witnesses, only us and the sound of my son complaining because his nurse will not let him chew the edge of her apron." Faintly, from down the corridor, A baby's indignant squawk supported his words. It drew a small laugh from Anna despite herself. She sat, hands folded tightly. "I have owed you words for some time," Leopold said. "I have owed you thanks, and more than thanks." "You have given me protection," she said. "That is more than most would have done." "I gave you protection after I let others question you," he said. "After I stood silent while you were humiliated in that chamber. You were right to be angry with me if you were." She looked down at her hands. "I was hurt," she admitted, "but I understood. You must think of more than one life." "I must," he said, "but I forgot that thinking of many lives does not excuse forgetting the one right in front of me." He turned to face her more fully. "Anna, when I saw you hold my son, I saw someone who cared more for his breath than for her own safety. You knew you might be blamed. You knew they might call you witch. Yet you acted. He broke off, searching for words. "I have seen nobles flinch from smaller risks." "I did not think," she said softly. "I only saw him struggling. I could not bear it." "That is exactly what I mean," he said. "You did not weigh the advantage. You simply did what was needed. And then, when they questioned you, you did not use it to gain favor. You did not flatter me. You told the truth even when it put you in more danger." She felt her cheeks warm. "What else could I do?" "Many would have done otherwise," he said. "You did not. You have changed my son's life. You have changed mine as well." She glanced at him, then away. "Highness, please, you owe me nothing. I did not act to earn a reward." "I know," he said. "That is why I trust you." Silence settled for a moment. Beyond the window, a flurry of snow drifted past, catching the light. "I have thought much these last days," he went on, "about oaths, about what binds a house, a land. My father believed it was fear, scripts, secrets. I have seen now that it is something else." "What then?" she asked. "Conscience," he said. "The willingness to do right even when it costs dearly. You have shown more of that than anyone in this palace, including me." "You risked much today," she said. "You went against your father's memory, against your advisors. They will not forgive you easily." "Let them," he said. "I would rather my son grow up in a house that has made such a choice than in one that keeps his throat bound, and I would rather not spend the rest of my years wishing I had spoken when I was silent." He took a breath. "There is something more I must say, Anna. Not as a prince speaking to a subject, but as a man speaking to a woman he respects and admires." Her heart stumbled. She kept her voice low. "You risk much to speak like this." "I risk more by not speaking," he said. "You may think this is gratitude talking. It is not only that. From the first moment you stepped forward in that chamber, I saw you, truly saw you. Not just as a maid with linens, but as a mind, a courage. Since then, I have watched you bear whispers and isolation with more dignity than most born to silk. I have seen you stand your ground when others would have begged. And I find that I cannot imagine this palace, nor my own days, without knowing you are in them." She stared at him, hardly breathing. "Highness," she began. "Leopold," he corrected gently. "Leopold," she said, the word strange on her tongue. "People will say that grief has made you soft, that I have bewitched you." "Let them," he said. "They have been wrong about many things already. You are a prince," she said. "I am a maid. That is the simple truth. The gulf between us is wide, whatever you may feel today." "It is wide because we have decided it must be," he said, "not because God carved it so. I cannot change what I was born, but I can choose whom I honor, whom I stand beside, whom I love." The last word hung in the air between them. Anna closed her eyes for a heartbeat. Her chest ached with a strange, bright pain. "You do not know me well enough to say that," she whispered. "I know enough," he said. "I know that when my son could not draw breath, your first thought was for him, not yourself. I know that when you were offered a way to save your own safety by leaving, you stayed. And I know that when you heard powerful people plotting in the dark, you chose to bring that to me, though you had no assurance I would believe you. If that is not enough to begin love, then I do not know what is." She opened her eyes and found his gaze steady, not pleading, not commanding. Offering. "What would you have of me?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Only honesty," he said. "Do you feel anything of what I feel, or is this affection mine alone?" She swallowed. Her voice was barely audible. "I have tried very hard not to feel anything," she said, because feeling has always cost too much. But I think of you when I should be thinking of pots and floors. I listen for your step in the corridor. When they spoke of sending me away, my first thought was not of losing a bed or wages. It was of never seeing you hold your son again. That frightened me more than any journey. His breath caught. Then we are both in danger, he said softly. She gave a shaky laugh. Yes. He reached out, then stopped himself, his hand hovering between them. Anna, I will not ask you for an answer now to any great question. The court must settle. My son must grow a little. There are forms to observe, storms to weather. But know this, I intend to honor what I feel, not hide it, not bury it under duty. The path from where we are to where I would like us to be will be hard. It will cause talk, perhaps even scandal. I will not pretend otherwise. If, after all you have endured, you wish for a quieter life elsewhere, say so now, and I will let you go with every protection I can give. But if you are willing to stand with me, in whatever comes, I will not step back from you. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, surprising her. She looked down, then up again. I have been alone most of my life, she said. Even when my mother was alive, people held themselves apart. Here, it has been the same. I do not know how to stand beside a prince in the way you speak of, but I would like to learn, if you are patient with my clumsiness. A slow, relieved smile touched his face. I can be patient, he said. We have already survived worse than awkwardness. He let his hand close the distance at last, not in possession but in a simple human clasp around hers. His fingers were warm, his grip careful. Then we begin, he said. Down the corridor, Friedrich's laugh rang out, clear and bright, as if trying his new voice on the world. Snow melted, then returned, then melted again. Winter loosened its grip on Falkenberg and slid into a stubborn, damp spring. The palace changed more slowly. In the weeks after the Great Hall confrontation, letters flew like restless birds. Some came with seals from neighboring houses, some from the royal court in Berlin. There were questions, polite and not so polite. There were warnings dressed as advice. Tell them the truth, Leopold said one afternoon, sitting at his desk with a pile of paper before him. Tell them we removed something from my son's throat that should never have been there. If they do not like it, they may place strips in their own children and see how it feels. Captain Brandt hid a smile. I will let the scribe soften that, Highness. Not too much, Leopold replied. I am tired of soft words covering sharp things. You are sharper than you were, Brandt said. In a good way. Baron von Walden left Falkenberg quietly. There were no crowds to see him off. Only 2 carriages, a few trunks, and a handful of servants who had chosen to remain in his service. He bowed to the Dowager, bowed to Leopold, and left without looking back. Dr. Meinhard submitted his resignation before anyone could demand it. He offered to leave medicine entirely and retire to a small town by the river. You will not, Leopold said. You will continue to practice, but not here. The doctor stared at him, stunned. Highness, after what I have... You have done wrong, Leopold said, but you will spend the rest of your days trying to do right. Go where you are needed, where you may do simple good. There is more punishment in that than in hiding in a cottage feeling sorry for yourself. Dr. Meinhard bowed deeply, tears in his eyes. I will, Highness. I swear it. The old chapel in the west wing was opened, cleaned and stripped of its strange ornaments. Candle wax scraped away, old cloths burned, symbols chiseled from the stone. The altar was left bare. Anna watched from the doorway as workers carried out boxes. It feels different already, she said. Leopold stood beside her, arms crossed. It feels like a room again, he said. Not a secret. What will you use it for now? She asked. Nothing, he said. Maybe one day Friedrich will decide. For now it will remain empty. A reminder. Of what? She asked. That some prayers should never be written on other people's bodies, he said. The Dowager said little in those weeks, but she watched everything. She watched Anna in the corridors, watched how servants greeted her now with cautious respect instead of suspicion. She watched Leopold, how he grew quieter in some ways and more open in others. One evening she sent for Anna. Anna entered the Dowager's sitting room with her usual mix of caution and stubbornness. The older woman sat in a high-backed chair, shawl around her shoulders, a book closed on her lap. You wish to see me, Your Highness? Anna asked. Yes, the Dowager said. Come closer. I do not bite. Anna stepped forward. The Dowager studied her face. When I first heard your name, she said, I thought, another Keller with troublesome hands. Anna held her gaze. My mother's hands saved lives, she said quietly. So did mine once. So they did, the Dowager said. I did not thank you properly. Pride is a stubborn thing in old bones. Anna did not know what to say, so she said nothing. Amalia's mouth twitched. You are not much for flattery, are you? I do not know how to do it well, Anna admitted. Good, the Dowager said. We have too many who do. Sit down. Anna obeyed, perching on the edge of a chair. Do you care for my grandson, the Dowager said. I have seen how he reaches for you, how his face lights. Why? Anna blinked. Why, Your Highness? Yes, Amalia said. You could have accepted the offer to leave. You could have taken a small purse and gone far away from all this. Yet you stayed. For what? A better bed? Higher wages? No, Anna said. I stayed because he is here. Because I could not bear the thought of his voice being shaped by people who wanted him quiet. He is more than a prince to me. He is a child I held when no one else would let me touch him. I have never had that before. And his father? The Dowager asked, eyes sharp. Anna felt heat rise in her cheeks. His father is my prince, she said carefully, and a man I respect. And? The Dowager pressed. And if I say more, there will be talk, Anna said. There already is, Amalia replied dryly. You may as well speak truth in front of the one person whose talk still matters. Anna swallowed. I care for him, she said, not just because he is a prince, because he listened when he did not have to, because he changed when changing cost him something, because he trusted a maid's word over a nobleman's pride. I never expected such a man to exist, and now that I know he does, it is hard not to care. The Dowager's fingers tightened on the book, then relaxed. My son has always been too careful, she said. Too controlled. His father taught him that softness invited danger. I taught him that silence avoided scandal. Between us we made him hard and quiet, like a locked door, she sighed. I see now that we were wrong. You opened that door without permission. I am still not sure I forgive you, but I cannot deny that the light suits him. Anna stared at her. Your Highness? You may call me Amalia when we are alone, the Dowager said. If the day comes when you must call me something else in public, I will live. Anna's heart gave a strange lurch. I do not dare hope for such a day, she said. Then hope for something else, Amalia replied. Hope for courage. Hope to endure what is coming, for it will not be easy. The court will resist. The other houses will laugh. Some will call it a disgrace. Others will see it as an affront to order itself. What do you see it as? Anna asked, voice barely above a whisper. The Dowager hesitated. I see it as a chance, she said finally, to correct something in our line that has been crooked for a long time. My husband married for alliance, not affection. I trained my son to think the same. Look how that ended. A dead princess, a choking child. Perhaps God has grown tired of our tidy plans. Anna bit back an astonished laugh. So you would accept such a union? She asked. I would not throw myself from a tower to prevent it, Amalia said. That is as much blessing as you will get from me at present. Do not waste it. Thank you, Anna said fervently. Do not thank me, the Dowager replied. Thank yourself for not running, and thank my grandson when he calls you by the name you deserve one day. Time did what time does. Spring warmed into early summer. The fields beyond Falkenberg turned green. The people slowly turned their attention from scandal back to harvests and markets. Stories of the binding became stories of the girl who saved the prince. They changed as they passed from mouth to mouth, but one point remained constant. She had acted when others hesitated. Within the palace, the new patterns settled. Anna was no longer assigned to the scullery. She moved between the nursery and the more private rooms, helping the nurse carrying messages, sometimes reading aloud very slowly from children's books, while Friedrich grabbed at the pages. You skip words, Leopold teased one morning as he watched her. I skip the ones I do not know, she said. He does not seem to mind. Friedrich babbled in agreement, patting the illustrations. You will read them all one day, Leopold told him. And then you will correct us both. Perhaps he will correct the laws next, Anna said. He has already corrected more than one heart. Leopold looked at her with that look that made her chest tighten. He is not the only one with that power, he said. There were moments stolen between duties. A shared cup of coffee in a quiet kitchen. A walk through the inner courtyard at dusk, with Friedrich in his nurse's arms a few steps ahead. Fingers brushing for a second longer than necessary when passing a toy, a book, a folded cloth. The first time Leopold kissed her, it was almost an accident. They stood in the nursery doorway watching Friedrich sleep. The child had just learned to pull himself up on the bars of his cradle. Exhausted from the effort, he had collapsed in a tangle of limbs and soft snores. He fights even dreams, Leopold murmured. He will be stubborn. He had to be, to get his cry out, Anna said. That was his first battle. Leopold turned toward her. The lamplight caught her profile, the curve of her cheek, the small line of tiredness at the corner of her mouth. You look at him as if he belonged to you, he said softly. He belongs to himself, she answered. But I feel tied to him. Tied to us, he corrected. We are bound together whether the Baron likes it or not. She smiled at that. He is far away now. He is, Leopold said. But his idea of binding remains. I would like a different one. What kind? She asked. This, he said. He lifted his hand, lightly cupped her face and bent his head. His lips met hers, hesitant at first, as if asking permission. She answered with a soft breath and the small, involuntary movement of her mouth against his. The kiss was gentle and brief, but it carried everything left unsaid in those past months. Fear, gratitude, slow-growing affection, joy that had been held in check. When they parted, both were a little breathless. That kind, he said quietly. She laughed, shaky and delighted. I think I like your idea better than the Baron's. I should hope so, he replied. It could not remain a private understanding forever. One morning, Leopold summoned the court to the great hall again. This time the air was less heavy. The candles were lit not for crisis but for ceremony. Anna stood at the edge of the gathered crowd, her hands cold despite the warmth in the room. She wore her plain dress. Nothing marked her as different, save perhaps the way a few people gave her space, as if something invisible surrounded her. Frau Roth appeared at her elbow. Stand still, the housekeeper murmured, and breathe. Do I look like I might forget? Anna whispered back. Yes, Frau Roth said. So breathe. The dowager took her seat. Captain Brandt stood at his usual post. Friedrich, nearly a year old now, sat on a nurse's hip, chewing on a carved wooden ring and staring at everything with solemn interest. Leopold stepped forward. He wore no crown, only his usual dark coat, but there was something different in the way he held himself. Less guarded, more sure. Thank you for coming, he said. I will not speak long. You have spent enough hours listening to me this year. Polite chuckles rippled through the hall. I have spoken to you about oaths, he went on, about the dangers of fear. Today I wish to speak of a different promise, one made not out of fear but out of choice, one that will bind not a throat, but a life. 2 lives, in fact. 3, if you count the small one already making demands on all of us. He looked toward Friedrich, who chose that moment to squeal. Leopold smiled. Yes, you, he said. The hall relaxed, just a little. I have decided, he said, to marry again. A rustle of surprise swept through the room. People glanced at one another, quickly calculating which foreign princess or local noble daughter he might have in mind. I will not take a bride from another house, he said. Falkenberg needs no new alliances at the price of its honesty. I will marry someone who has already proven her loyalty to this house, not by birth, but by action. A murmur rose. He lifted his hand. Anna Keller, he said. Come here. The room seemed to tilt. Anna's feet left the floor of their own accord. She walked forward through the path that opened, feeling eyes follow her. Some curious, some hostile, some unexpectedly kind. She reached the space before the dais and curtsied, knees trembling. Leopold's gaze met hers, steady and warm. Anna, he said, his voice gentler now. I have said this to you in private, but I will say it here, where it matters most. You saved my son. You spoke truth when others hid it. You stood beside me when it would have been easier to run. You showed me what courage looks like in a simple dress. He turned slightly to address the hall. Some will say she is unworthy of a prince, he continued, that she is a maid and nothing more. I say a prince who cannot recognize worth beyond titles is unworthy of his own crown. No one laughed. The words were too sharp. I intend to marry Anna Keller, Leopold said clearly. Not as a whim, not as a reward, but because I love her. Because she is the woman I trust to stand beside me when storms come. Because I want my son to grow up seeing in his mother the same courage I want from him. Silence fell, heavy and stunned. Then quietly the dowager rose. The gesture alone sent a ripple through the crowd. We have made many mistakes in this house, she said. This is not one of them. I, Amalia of Falkenberg, give my blessing to this union, not because it is easy, but because it is right. A breath Anna had not realized she was holding left her in a rush. The clergy shifted, whispering quickly. One stepped forward. Highness, he said carefully, a union between a prince and a woman of such humble birth is unusual. So was a strip of writing in a child's throat, Leopold answered. We are done with old patterns of harm. We will make a new one. If the church requires any special dispensation, I am sure they can find a way to stamp it and file it in triplicate. A few younger lords snorted, hastily turning it into coughs. The priest opened his mouth, then closed it. If it is your will, he said, then it is my duty to bless it. Thank you, Leopold said. He turned back to Anna. His eyes softened. You have heard me throw you into the center of every gaze, he murmured. Yes, she whispered. Very rudely. I will do worse at the altar, he said. I hope you forgive me. She smiled, suddenly feeling light. I think I already have. The wedding was not delayed long. Leopold saw no reason to let rumors ferment. It was held in the palace chapel that still remained in use, not the stripped one. Flowers from the early gardens were brought in. Candles glowed. The court dressed in its best, some with genuine joy, others with carefully concealed disapproval. Hannah's dress was simple compared to the gowns of princesses in stories. White, yes, but not heavy with jewels, a bit of lace at the sleeves, a ribbon at her waist. Her hair was brushed until it shone and pinned up by trembling fingers. Hers, the nurses', Frau Roth's, even the dowager's when no one else was looking. You look like yourself, Leopold whispered when he saw her at the chapel door. That is all I wanted. You look very nervous, she whispered back. I am marrying the bravest woman I know, he said. I would be a fool not to be nervous. The ceremony was simple. Words spoken, hands joined, rings placed. There were no long speeches, only vows, clear and steady. I take you as you are, Leopold said, his voice roughening. Not as others say you should be, not as fear would make you as you are. And I take you, Anna replied, not as a prince only, but as the man who chose truth over comfort, as the man who held his child and listened to a maid, as the man I love. The priest blessed them. They turned to face the hall as husband and wife. Some bowed deeply, some did not. The dowager's eyes were wet. Captain Brandt's usual stoicism cracked into something like a smile. Friedrich, sitting on the nurse's lap, clapped his hands together and squealed as if he understood everything. Afterward, in a small room off the chapel, away from the crowd, Leopold and Anna sat for a moment in the first quiet they had had all day. We are married, Anna said, sounding the word out as if testing a new language. We are, he said, and no one choked. That alone feels like a miracle. She laughed. Do you regret it yet? She asked. Not even slightly, he said. Do you? Only that it took so long to arrive here, she replied. But perhaps we needed the time to become who we are. He reached for her hand, twining their fingers. Anna von Erhardt, he said, trying the name. It suits you. It feels too large, she said, like a coat I will grow into. You will, he said, very quickly. You have already outgrown what they thought you were. There was a knock at the door. Enter, Leopold called. The nurse stepped in, Friedrich on her hip. He was very insistent, she said, smiling. He refused to nap. I think he wished to offer his own congratulations. Leopold stood and took his son. Is that so? He asked. You approve of all this, do you? Friedrich grabbed his father's collar, then reached for Anna, making an impatient sound. Of course, she said, coming closer. He is used to having us both nearby. We have unsettled his routine. Leopold shifted so the boy could see her better. Look, Fritz, he said, this is your mother. They had used the word often in his hearing these last days, hoping it would sink in. He had babbled it once or twice without meaning, mixing it with other sounds. Now he stared at Anna with unusual seriousness. His small mouth worked, shaping nothing at first. Then, clear as the chapel bell outside, he said, "Mother." The room seemed to stop. Anna's hand flew to her mouth. Tears sprang to her eyes. "Say it again," Leopold whispered, voice shaking. Friedrich, delighted by the reaction, grinned and repeated, "Mother." He reached for her with both arms. She laughed and sobbed at once. Leopold passed the boy to her. Friedrich clung to her neck, tucking his head against her shoulder, as if that had always been where it belonged. "There," Leopold said softly. "The first word he speaks clearly is yours." "It is ours," she said, pressing her cheek to the child's hair. "Yours, mine, his." She looked at Leopold over Friedrich's head. "He will never know the silence we feared for him," she said. "He will never have words forced into his throat again." "He will choose his own," Leopold said, "and we will listen even when we do not like them." "He may shout," Anna warned. "He already does," Leopold said. "I look forward to hearing all of it. Every cry, every question." They stood there, the three of them, held together by arms and words and things that had no name yet. Outside, the bells rang again, not for alarm, but for joy. In the courtyard, servants paused to listen. In the village below, people looked up, smiling, saying to one another, "The prince's son has a voice and the maid is now his mother." Thank you so much for listening to this story all the way to the end. We hope it moved you as much as it moved us while telling it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment telling us where you're listening from and what you liked the most. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like as a show of support. That really motivates us to keep creating and sharing more stories full of emotion and life lessons. And before we go, we want to remind you that an exciting and heartwarming story recommendation will appear on the final screen. If you'd like to enjoy it, just click on the video. Thank you once again for being here, and we'll see you in the next story.